All right, it's now 5:30. I'm going to call this special meeting to order. You want to call the roll?
Joe Chappell.
Present.
Aaron Brown.
Here.
Darrell Covington. Here. Valerie Duncan.
Here.
Adam Roth. Patrick Kerr.
Here.
Lynn Bilodeau.
Here.
And James Long absent. So we have a quorum though.
Okay. We normally, I'm assuming both of you gentlemen are here on the only issue that's on the docket tonight, so we'll wait for public comments. You'll certainly get your chance to speak. When we do ask you to speak, we ask that you come to the podium and state your name and your address. Got Aaron running in. We have a sound issue. Okay. And if you're not high enough for that, you can always just grab that mic. It's just in a holder there. We only have one item tonight: discussion potential action on a request for a certificate of appropriateness for Oklahoma Department of Transportation improvements to meet American with Disabilities Act for sidewalks, ADA ramps, limited curb and gutter replacement along Division Street between Perkins Avenue just north of Vilas Avenue and between Cleveland Avenue and Noble Avenue, and along Noble Avenue between Division Street and Broad Street. Dan, I was under the impression that the portion that we were talking about was just between Vilas and Harrison, about a half a block north of Vilas, and then going from there to Perkins. Are we talking about an area other than that? Because I don't think they're even going to do the sidewalk in front of Shorts Automotive. Is that correct?
No, right, because that was part of the other grant, or was going to be part of that other grant that you may remember that had the proposed bump outs and that type of stuff. So that area was excluded from this because that was part of a different project. Okay. I think it goes up to or close to that intersection, because over where that depot is, right there at Perkins, isn't it?
Yeah, the old train depot.
Yeah, so basically there to Vilas, and then it skips that area and then picks up at Cleveland.
Okay. Although part of it would be a half block north of Vilas is what I read in their report. Okay.
Yes.
So, but not BD Shorts, the Shorts Automotive.
No, because again, that was part of that other project, because from basically that corner to Oklahoma was on both sides was part of the other grant that hasn't moved forward at this point.
Okay. And do we have a staff report on that?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to mention, just for probably for the sake of public record in that, this was brought back to the commission. The chairman had asked to have a special meeting for reconsideration. This item was at the August 3rd Historic Preservation Commission meeting, in which the commission voted 6-0 to approve the project with the condition that all the sidewalks within the portion of the project that's in the historic district be red brick. After that, ODOT decided, based on that decision, that they were going to exclude the historic district from the sidewalk project. And prior to even the meeting, staff did reach out to ODOT to see if they would still consider an alternate decision or consider something other than previous, and they said yes, that it was not too late, so hence the reason we're back here tonight for the meeting.
Okay.
And with that, I'll leave back to the commission.
And I'll just take the blame for everybody having to get out a second time this month for the meeting, because I'm the one that called the meeting. There was quite a reaction from the public, and the more I thought about it, and you guys all got my email, correct? Did you get any? No. Everybody should have gotten an email from me. Did everybody else get it?
Mm-hmm. I got it.
I got it.
Okay, well, I'm so sorry, Valerie. I'll let you, I've got one printed out. I know I had every commissioner and Dan and Mr. Long all in that email. what we're left with after our decision that we approved their application with the change that everything from a half block north of Vilas going south on the east side of Harrison all the way to Perkins would be brick sidewalk, red brick. And so ODOT's decision was, well, fine, we gave you a nice proposal for 5-foot wide sidewalks with the ramps, everything's gonna be ADA compliant, and if you're gonna make us jump through more hoops or go to full red brick, we'll just abandon that part of the project and save that much money. So that means the city of Guthrie won't have a sidewalk that goes all the way from downtown, continuing all the way down to industrial, which is what we all, or not, yeah, industrial. It does go all the way to industrial, past Walmart, correct?
Yeah, that's
But everybody usually refers to this as the sidewalk from downtown to Walmart. But it even goes past that, all the way to industrial. And that leaves us with either the city having to fund this project, which is going to be at a huge cost. And Dan, has the city done any investigation to see what the cost would be to do a brick sidewalk, ADA compliant?
No.
For that stretch?
No.
I know I've heard different figures thrown out. I'm not going to throw any out. I know it would be more expensive than doing concrete, and it wouldn't be paid for by ODOT. So the city would have to fund that out of our.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I just like you, all I could confirm is it would cost more, but I don't have a cost estimate.
Okay. I really believe that we as a commission, every once in a while, will make a mistake. And I think if we make a mistake, we just ought to say we made a mistake and see if we can't correct it. I think the biggest asset that we have in downtown Guthrie are our great Victorian buildings. And I think if this sidewalk that they were putting in was in front of a bunch of Victorian buildings, then I think we might want to dig in our heels and make this a battle that we want to fight. But I also think sometimes we need to choose our battles and fight the ones that are really worth fighting for. I took some pictures over the weekend looking from the west side of Division over to the east side of Division, and I just want you to see, they're not even all buildings. Some of these are empty lots that we're talking about putting a sidewalk in front of. Aaron, can you put up picture number 1 for me? This is the lot just south of Shorts Automotive. And you can see there's not any Victorian structure that we're protecting there, that we want everybody to walk on that lovely brick sidewalk to look at. Picture number 2. I don't know what year this building was built, but probably not in the Victorian age. It's got a little shed attachment over there on the south side of it, but pretty nondescript building. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it, and I hope somebody's getting really good use out of it. Number 3 is just a lot that's just to the north of what's now our tourism office. This does lead back down to the left where Hoboken Coffee is. There's a metal Quonset hut back there, but again, this isn't what you think of when you think of downtown Guthrie, and let's showcase the best parts of Guthrie. Number 4, I'm guessing that was built in the 60s. That's obviously an old gas station that the city of Guthrie is now using for our tourism office, and it's a great reuse of property, and I appreciate them reusing it and doing that. Number 5 is the powder station, obviously not Victorian. This building was built in 1925, 310 South Division. But again, it's a nice looking commercial structure, taking pretty decent care of it. But it's not historic Guthrie. It's not what I think of when I think of historic downtown Guthrie. Number 7 is just the lot to the north of 320 South Division. And you'll see 320 South Division is the next shot, number 8. This was built in 1940, so it's not part of, again, the historic part of the city. And then the next one, obviously not a Victorian structure. This was built in 1950. It even has a metal roof on it now. So it's not, again, part of what we really want to showcase for Guthrie. And then there's a vacant lot to the south of that. That was Integrity Bail Bonds. And then this is what somebody in a wheelchair is contending with right now if they're trying to get to Walmart going down the east side of Guthrie. You've got these 8 to 10 inch tall parking blocks cemented in the area there. That will all be torn out and be nice clean sidewalk where somebody can actually access the sidewalk and get there. The only building in the area that I would consider to even be historically significant is the last picture, and that's the old train depot. And right now, that's all there is out in front of it is old concrete. There's not any evidence that there was ever a brick sidewalk there. There is one small area that's less than 50 foot long, according to me pacing it off, that has some brick in it there. It's overgrown with a lot of grass and weeds. It's in front of one of those vacant lots we just looked at. There's really not much of it there. I doubt that it's even all original because there's more than one type of brick in there. There's several types of brick in there where you can see where it's been patched in over the years. I don't know the history of it. I wish someone could tell us if we had a full brick sidewalk all the way down the east side of Division at one time. That would make a big difference to me. I don't think anybody can tell us that. I don't think that we know that. I understand the affinity for brick sidewalks. I've got a brick sidewalk in front of my home. I love the brick sidewalk in front of my home. And I know there are economic reasons why. A lot of people have argued since the 1970s that brick sidewalks are actually cheaper over the long haul if they're maintained properly. But that's not going to be an option for us right now to do it that way. So I would just urge this commission, again, pick our battles. We have a hard enough time trying to keep Guthrie preserved, and in our name is the word preservation. We are a preservation commission, and there's not anything along that whole stretch that we're looking at that we would really be preserving. We would be doing new construction, and under our guidelines, new construction's not supposed to be designed so that it looks old. We're not supposed to mimic the old with new construction. And I know some commissioners, you guys have things to say, and obviously we want to hear anything. Would it be appropriate to go ahead and take public comment at this time?
Yeah, probably wouldn't be bad, and then you could have it back to discussion.
And then we'll take it back to a discussion.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to give the background on why I called the meeting. So anybody that wants to speak, come on forward.
Can you get the mic okay, Mike?
I think I can. I'm gonna do this. Okay. My name's Mike Monahan, and I'm not here as the newspaper guy. I'm here as a handicap guy. We need to correct this. This is rough on wheelchairs, on the brick and stuff. So we just need to correct this, and we need to make it so that it is accessible all the way around. I was on the ADA committee for a while. It's hugely expensive doing this stuff. So if you can get the state to do it, I think it'd be a wise decision. Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Any commissioners have any questions for Mike? Thank you very much.
Mike, I've got one.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been in Guthrie?
10 years.
10 years? And the whole time you've been here, I was going to ask if you knew how long we've been trying to get a sidewalk from downtown. Longer than the 10 years that you've been here.
Longer than yes.
Yeah. Okay. It seems like you've been here longer than
I feel like I've been here longer than that. That's okay.
time flies when you're having fun.
Thank you very much. No other comments? Commissioners, anybody have anything they want to add or discuss?
I do.
Okay, Joe?
I'm a big advocate of historic downtown Guthrie. I've lived here my whole life. I love our brick sidewalks. But I know for the last 20 years we've been trying to get a decent sidewalk from downtown Guthrie out to Walmart and beyond. And I got to the point where I never thought it would happen. I was beating this drum at least 15 years ago. when we've got the opportunity now to have handicapped accessible sidewalks. As the commissioner pointed out, we've got one contributing building on this stretch. I even have a building on this stretch of, and I think I brought out at our last meeting that so much of that side of the road is already concrete or blacktop. And if you're talking about doing brick sidewalks, it's not going to be your normal Guthrie brick sidewalk. It's going to be surrounded by either concrete on both sides or blacktop. And significantly, I just think that, and I want to read this paragraph because I agree with ODOT's assessment of it. It said, our assessment is that the project will have no adverse effect on the Guthrie Historic District. Generally, the project proposes in-kind replacement of concrete sidewalks. So for the most part, all this project is doing is replacing existing concrete sidewalks. There is a little strip that I walked. It's covered with blacktop. Saying that it's 50 feet long is generous. It's not. It's also, at any rate, updating or adding AD ramps is a safety improvement and a minor change that is compatible in character and quality with this district setting. It wouldn't be with downtown, but this is south of downtown, and like I said, very few contributing buildings. I think the depot is the only one on either side of the street. The small amount of sidewalk the project proposes to add is generally next to non-contributing resources, where lack of sidewalks is not a significant design element to the district. The proposed replacement of brick sidewalks is clearly an effect to the historic district, as the brick sidewalks are not consistent throughout the entire district. If this was anywhere else, I would be all over it. I mean, if this was downtown, I just feel like this is a border area for us. The proposed replacement of brick sidewalks is clearly an effect to the historic district as the brick sidewalks are not consistent throughout the whole district. They do not represent a cohesive element with this area and represent compromised integrity of design, materials, and workmanship. The amount of brick sidewalk replacement is minor and extremely minor. I'm serious, it's like 20 feet and part of it's blacktopped over and it's an empty lot. It is our opinion that specifically with APE, the historic district will still be able to convey its significance. I don't want to see Guthrie not have a viable sidewalk for handicapped people in Guthrie for another couple of years. And for that reason, you know, to me, this is a little bit like someone saying, I want to redo the floors in you've got no floors in your house, and someone's saying, I want to pay for your floor, and you're saying, I don't like the color. This is free for us. It won't cost us a dime. And those people, I mean, I have people at our assisted living center that ride little, you know, electric cars and electric wheelchairs. I've had a gentleman that years ago, he's not there now, but Mr. Gleason, he used to ride the curb all the way to Walmart with a little flag on top of his wheelchair. And I just think that's unacceptable. And I think sometimes we, anyway, just my opinion. And I just think that we should let the state finish this project so that we have handicapped accessible sidewalks. And that we don't have to wait another couple of years or more,
Or longer.
if at all. That's my take on it. Next.
Anybody else? For or against, it doesn't matter. Just because Joe and I have spoken for, it doesn't matter, mean
I'm
somebody.
just not certain that I know what the historic district, some of this is out of the historic district.
Well, much of that proposal is out of the historic district. The part that we're talking about that affected the historic district is just half block north of Vilas going south to Perkins.
And so the sidewalks will be.
Every place else, the sidewalks are gonna be 5-foot wide concrete.
Concrete with expansion joints and.
Yes.
Control joints and that type of thing.
Exactly.
And, brick part of the side, there will be no brick sidewalks in the project,
Not in the project.
period,
That's correct.
even in the historic district.
That's correct.
There's no way to negotiate with ODOT to get that historic district to either have brick sidewalks or stained brick sidewalks or something that's more compatible with the historic district.
Yeah. Well, right now, all we know is that if we don't approve, and again, where every place else they're doing concrete sidewalk anyway. Hold on.
Thank you.
Okay. Your question was, is there any way to negotiate with ODOT? We don't have any negotiating power right now. I mean, they've asked for approval from us for that one short 2.5 block area. And if we vote it down, then they're just not gonna do any sidewalk there. Now, whether ODOT's willing to come in and look at putting in brick, I can't tell you that. I don't know anybody at ODOT. And they're not here to tell us, but
No, but based on, again, what transpired at the last meeting, they more or less said, we're not going to do brick because we're just going to exclude it from the overall project in that. So that pretty much, I think, tells you what they're looking at this point.
Dan, is there any possible way of pulling up a map so we can see actually exactly where this area is?
I don't have one that's on the screen. I mean, there's the information that was provided and then within the study that was provided.
Patrick, if you go to figure 2E, you see it?
Yeah, so it's south of.
We're talking about going from,
South of Harrison where it says 16 there,
right, down to the 10.
okay.
And it doesn't start until the alley south of Harrison.
And the only, and like Joe said, the only contributing resource, you can see the light green there, that's the old train depot.
Is that in front of the 16 or is that farther down in front of the other?
The train depot is right there at 1211.
Right.
Okay.
Because basically where it shows the 10, that intersection will be done on the south as well as the north, and then it continues up northward. But the rest of it to the, well, but again, all of that is outside the historic district. The only thing that I was going to add, and I don't know if it makes any difference, but one of the things that, you know, when I first got here and was looking at the historic district, to me it seemed evident, and I don't know if this to be the case, but it appeared the only reason that portion was within the historic district was because of the depot.
Exactly.
To encompass it. Because otherwise, that probably would have all been left out because there's nothing there other than the
Because
depot.
between
Yeah.
downtown and the depot, there is nothing that
Right.
says that you're in the historic district of Guthrie.
Yeah.
As far as
And that's why there's that little
And that's why
notch
I took a
downward.
picture of
Yeah.
all those buildings and
Yeah.
empty lots along that.
And
along that
if the
road.
depot wasn't down there, the
It would have stopped
historic
at Harrison.
district would have stopped at Harrison.
Yeah. But it technically
With the
still is.
exception
so.
of the park.
Yeah, but that's shown as, you know, if you want to say there's not a,
Well, I just thought
yeah.
I'd throw that in.
I think they were just looking at having a more connectivity to the main district, whereas the park is part of the district, but it doesn't have that connectivity as far as boundaries. It just says, here's the park and it's part of the district.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the map that we're looking at. That's the
Gotcha.
area. So we're just talking about that one blue strip, the top of the two blue strips there.
What's out in front of the depot right now?
Nothing but concrete.
Concrete?
Yeah.
They've got the big brick that's way up high for a porch where trucks used to be able to pull to unload stuff.
There's a picture of it, Patrick.
Right there?
Yeah, right there. That's the train depot right now.
It's all concrete.
There's a section that it used to be where freight was loaded and weighed. So there's
Yeah.
a metal section that's been concreted in because it was the weight mechanism
It's
for
the
the
old
freight.
scale. Yeah, the old scale is out there.
And it's my understanding that the scale is going to remain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are
But
there
they
any
have
plans for the depot other than to just leave it where it is and leave it alone, or are
Is there any plans for this depot?
Yeah.
It's owned by a gentleman. who
It's
has-
actually being used for film
He's using
storage.
it. It's medical storage and
there, so it's a storage facility?
Yeah.
basically?
it's a storage facility,
Right.
but he has, he's a gentleman, I won't mention his name, but he's,
He's done a lot of repair work and
yeah,
updating on it.
he's planted
Significant.
trees and landscaping, and he does it all over town, in the parks, at the museum.
Well, and he got a folk art award for,
It's basically a warehouse for his,
it's
And
exactly,
Is this
which is
new,
Oklahoma intrinsic silver.
exactly.
according to this drawing, it looks like the start of this, or the end of this, however you want to look at it, right there, just south of the letter 16?
Yes.
Is where this, does this new sidewalk start, encroach upon the depot front yard?
The depot front yard?
You know, see, it looks like it's 10, 15 feet north of the edge of the building.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
The red brick part.
I think I'm seeing this right. Actually, this is the building right here, right? Not this. I think that's right. Okay, I've answered that
Okay.
question.
Okay. Because this is the train depot right here. That's the train depot.
The depot is at marker 7 and 8.
Are you sure?
Yep. Because Jelsma Stadium was the
Oh,
turnaround.
Springer, you're right. I'm sorry. This is,
Is this the depot?
this is the depot.
I'm not turned around.
Yes.
I'm not even on the right page.
2E is the illustration we're looking at.
Yeah.
That's
'cause-
correct, because this is,
yes,
this
yes.
next
Right,
intersection
because
down
if you
here
go,
will be the park.
if you go south of that, you obviously are at Ace Hardware, which is not
Right.
part of the historic
Right,
district.
that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, the next street there is Perkins. It's just
Yeah.
not marked on here. Any other discussion?
Well, I just want to throw out there that I think no one would argue with the need for accessible sidewalks. But Guthrie historically has been very proud of their brick sidewalks. And in fact, in 1902, in the art edition published by the State Capitol Publishing Company, it brags about the fact that Guthrie boasted at that time 228,000 feet of brick sidewalks throughout the town. I very much want to see the sidewalk project done, but I think if we're going to do it, we should do it correctly and do it with brick.
And I'm an advocate for ADA. I have volunteered for various organizations. Brick sidewalks can be ADA, but they need to be maintained just as much as concrete does. We're the HP committee. We're supposed to advocate for things that enhance our historic district. And I'm still going to be an advocate for brick in this couple of block section. And there are other grants out there that we could apply for. There are other organizations that could help us get ADA brick sidewalks for these couple of blocks.
Yes, sir? Come forward to the mic. Yeah, grab the mic. 'Cause we are on TV.
Aaron, I understand what you're saying. And I know you probably can't comment, but you guys don't have the money to to redo this if the state doesn't do it for you. And the city doesn't have the money to redo it for you. So I think you gotta take, I mean, I've gone through 3 wheelchairs because of brick in this town. And so I just really ask you guys, you gotta really keep us in mind too.
Thank you.
And while there may be other grants that we can apply for, I'm telling you, we've been trying to do this for 20 years, and this is the first time in my history in this town where there is a viable option. And I just personally don't think it's negatively affecting what is the heart of our historic downtown. But I still love people who disagree with me.
And I understand that. And again, if the buildings that we're running in front of here, if these were all Victorian buildings and it looked like part of our Victorian downtown, I'd be just as strong of an advocate for brick as anybody else. And I would like to see that look. I'd like to see us keep that. I think what we're looking at now, and I think Joe's being very optimistic when he says it may be 2 more years before we get an ADA compliant sidewalk. I'm gonna guess a lot longer than 2 years before anybody can make that happen, applying for grants or otherwise. And it's gonna be really hard. If we shoot ODOT down on this, it's gonna be really hard to go back to ODOT and ask them to do us some big favors and see if you can't get us a brick sidewalk along this stretch. So, is there any other discussion? If there's not, somebody want to make a motion?
Dan, I have another question for you.
Sure.
Okay.
What time frame did the ODOT give us to make a decision? Did they say we have to make it right this?
Yeah, and just to add, unfortunately, they had sent us documentation earlier on this year, and because of our firewall and our computer system, we never got it. And so basically, probably a couple months later, they send an MOU to us saying, hey, here's the project, can you sign this? And that's when we were like, we never got that information. And so the end result was us going through what we're doing now. So unfortunately, the timetables probably aren't as convenient, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, than they might have otherwise been. So they're pretty much, after tonight, they're going to, with pretty much certainty, move forward one way or the other based on tonight's decision.
They're going to be starting it very soon.
Yes, so that's why, and like I said, they have said that.
With or without this portion?
Yeah, because they did tell us that tonight's decision, they are waiting, and so they can react accordingly if it changes in that. But otherwise, they will move forward as they previously were going to do.
And what is their objection to that portion being brick?
I'm sure it's the cost.
Yeah, and again,
It's so labor intensive, so
Yeah.
much more labor
What
intensive.
percentage of the project is in the historic district? Maybe 10%, maybe less?
Just this,
yeah.
yeah. No, and they're talking about sidewalks up and down Noble Avenue as well as every place else along Division.
And I'm not speaking for ODOT, but that's probably what they were thinking of when they were given well, you got to have brick. They're probably like, well, it's such a small part that we're just going to exclude it and move on with the rest of it because we're going to be able to get it, 90% of our project or whatever. So they were probably looking at it in the opposite way that you're looking at it. I don't know with certainty, but that was just my thought process.
I'm really having a hard time with this
I know.
because,
I did too.
Well, if it was easy, anybody'd do this job, right?
yeah, right.
Okay.
First off, I don't think we made any mistake the first time around because we were thinking of, at least in my position, and I don't like to be told that I was making a mistake when I'm not. I felt that my decision was based on, like Aaron says, keeping the historical character of this town intact. And I have a handicapped daughter too, who has difficulty walking on areas that aren't designed for handicapped people. And I don't know which way to go.
It's tough. And, you know, I certainly didn't mean to offend anybody when I said we made a mistake, but whether it was a mistake or you want to characterize it as something else that we didn't know what was going to happen as a result of that vote,
Well,
we can still correct it regardless of what you want to
the
call
only
it.
reason that it seemed like a mistake in retrospect was because they just pulled the rug out from under us. I mean, I voted for the brick sidewalks. We all did.
And whether you feel like that's a strong arm tactic on the part of ODOT and that we shouldn't just bow down to it, I don't think that's even the question. I think the question is, do we want a ADA compliant sidewalk there?
Anytime in the near future.
Well, like Aaron says, you can still get an ADA compliant sidewalk.
You can do it
using
in brick, but they're not gonna do it, and the city of Guthrie doesn't
And
have the
I
money to do
understand
it.
that too. I mean, I can
Okay.
understand ODOT's position. They're set up to put in a concrete sidewalk
Sure.
with concrete curbs.
And for the
that's
most part,
that's the
they're-
direction they're wanting to go. And if I was ODOT, on the ODOT team, that would be my position too. Take what we offer you, or we'll just move on. I'm still, it bugs me when I walk through certain areas of the historical district, and there aren't brick sidewalks. And there aren't brick paved roads in some areas. Because I kind of wish they were there, because that adds to our character. If I had the money, I'd just go in and say, hell, I'll pay for it, and we'll just put in brick everywhere. But I'm not in that position either.
Well, we hope you hit the lottery soon.
All right, that's all I got to say.
Well, I would like to make a motion to accept the bid as is.
I'll second.
Okay,
So the
so
motion is to approve
Yeah.
the application for
basically as submitted.
certificate of appropriateness.
Yeah, as submitted,
We have a motion and a second.
yes. Aaron Brown,
No.
Darrell Covington,
No.
Valerie Duncan,
No.
Adam Ropp is not here, Patrick Kerr,
No.
Joe Chappell,
Yes.
Lynn Bilodeau.
Yes.
Motion fails 4-2.
You guys